Hey folks, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. I've been streaming the creation of this supplement, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, for the past year. It's a deep dive into additional variant rules and mechanics for ship combat and exploring wild space in the Spelljammer setting that Wizards of the Coast had reimagined and released in 5th edition in August 2022. It's a rule set, it's a monster manual, and it also has a showcase adventure called Light of Xeraxis. So this supplement is an 80-page deep dive into additional mechanics to add a little bit more depth of options for like using combat, 5e ship combat reimagined like horse combat at the 5-foot scale. And there's also much more detail and options for resolving exploration, both in the Astral Sea and wild space systems. And at the back end of this, page 85 through 107 is a conversion guide for Light of Xeraxis, using these rules to modify the Light of Xeraxis adventure that is used to showcase the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space setting. So we create alternate mechanics for use with Spelljammer. So we provide a guide to use those alternate mechanics in Light of Xeraxis so you can see how they actually function, so you could use these mechanics in your campaign, or if you're running Light of Xeraxis there as well. So while we were going through the mechanics here, one of the massive spoiler alerts ahead, so keep an eye out for that. But in the third act, Chaos and Doom Space, the characters have the opportunity to gather support from different coalitions to create a fleet to then take on the Elves of Xeraxis to try to save your world from being destroyed. So during the course of this adventure, it says here that, so if you assemble at least 4 factions, Vocath, who's a Mercane, decides that the cause is worth supporting, and then telepathically reaches out to some of his Mercane allies, who then send additional ships. They come with crews and spelljamming helms. The Mercane ships have crews, but the Mercanes themselves stay out of the fight. So this is really interesting. So first off, even though the Mercanes themselves won't fight, that doesn't mean that Vocath can't guide the team to where Xeraxis space is. So here's something we're thinking about. During the adventure, you acquire Princess Zadali, who is the royalty of the Xeraxis Empire, and has a deep familiarity with Xeraxis space. So we had a previous session. One of these videos that we had performed was doing basically looking at how we reimagined travel time in the Astral Sea. That travel time then becomes a factor of how familiar with a location you are. If you've only heard of a location, it can take a month to get there. But if you're very familiar, like if you spent your whole life there, it can only take you 3 days to get from wherever you are to home, right? So in the astral journey from Doom Space to Xeraxis space in the adventure into Act 4, there's a number of different allies that you've accumulated along the way that have different levels of familiarity with Xeraxis space. We first went to Topola's Tower just to get some rudimentary information about where Doom Space is and where Xeraxis space is, and she only has a vague description of it. But it's enough to get you there. It'll take a month, but you can get there with what she can give you. And then she leads you to Garganhale, a space pirate. And so the pirate, he's been to Xeraxis space once before. In the story, as we translate it, he hates the Xeraxis elves. So in the adventure, we describe that he had the chance to track and attack some elven ships, and when he caught up with them, they were at the border of Xeraxis space on their way home. So he was able to ambush them before they got home. That gained him enough familiarity to have been considered having viewed Xeraxis space once. So he can get there faster than Topola can because he has more experience with the location. Once you get to Doom Space and you find Commodore Crux's friend Warwick Blastimov, Blastimov is attempting to assemble a fleet to attack the Xeraxis elves on his own. But just as important, he has spent time in Xerax's space. The way it's described in the adventure is that he has been sieging and skirmishing in battles with the elves for many years. He and Crux are veterans of battles. That's where Crux and Blastomoth got their grudge against the elves. They've had campaigns against them in battle. So he's visited and has spent time. He's seen Xerax's space casually, having spent time there in battle in the past. So he can get there even faster. In the adventure, you might have Princess Zadali with you throughout the entire adventure. And if you do, once you head to Xerax's space, that's her home. And she can get you in just 3 days, which is so much faster than what any other option is. But if she's not there, we still want to be able to collapse time frames. So let's look at Vokath, the Mercane. Here's where this gets cool. So we know that they have telepathy. Here is the description of the Mercane, which is Mercanes have a special form of telepathy that enables them to communicate with one another across the universe. The Mercane are reported as being incredible merchants that are like the source of spell jamming helms and ships, and they trade with anyone, and that they are the most powerful merchant force in any wild space system throughout the multiverse. But why would that be? The telepathy isn't strong enough to really make them stand out that much more. Things like sending, like Crux and Warwick had sending stones, and they spoke with each other each day. If you were in a trade guild that your business was shipping goods from one wild space system to another, or one reality in the outer planes to another through the Astral Sea, then you'd probably have a stack of wild stones to keep in touch with your contacts as well. That's not quite enough. So then, here's a fun idea. Instead of them just having telepathy, what if they have a shared experience? So that as one Mercane becomes more familiar with a location, all Mercanes automatically become more familiar as well. So a Mercane scout could find the most obscure location and spend time there, gaining familiarity with it. Spend a month there. Get to know the cuisine. Get a feel for the air and how it feels to be there. Get a deep, very familiar sense of that space. And now every Mercane that lives has that same level of familiarity. Now that is a significant edge over any other type of creature that may be drifting through the astral seas. That is a near godlike power of knowledge that once you're someplace, everyone has that same level of familiarity. That would be a significant detail that would allow the Mercane to naturally excel beyond any other species in becoming multi-dimensional merchants, delivering goods from one wild space system to another, from one reality or one plane of existence to another in the Great Wheel as well. So when we see that that Vokath is willing to help the team when he decides that it's a worthy cause, but isn't willing to participate in the fight directly, Vokath can guide you, can lead the fleet to Xerax's space in a mere 3 days. And he's like, hey, good luck, I'm out of here. And then he leaves and just leaves you to it. He's giving you the resources that you need, but he wants to remain neutral. So he'll take you there, but he won't participate in the fight directly. So that leaves the characters in command of the fleet so that the players are making the decisions about how the fleet is going to engage in battle when they actually begin the assault on the Citadel of Light. So I wanted to take a few minutes of time to point this out. We had a previous video where we were exploring time spent in astral space and how different levels of familiarity can affect your campaign. But as we were going through the conversion guide here, it became obvious that this is the advantage that Mercanes have. And there hasn't been a really good explanation as to why their telepathy would make them so much better than any other species that trade when all these other magical abilities exist. This is that reason. It's that innate familiarity that they gain that if you use these mechanics can impact travel time in the Astral Sea. So this is just one of the ideas. We'll have that video from the Astral Sea exploration a month or so ago. I'll have it linked down below for you guys to take a look at that as well. But this book, again, it's 80 pages of mechanics and about 25 pages of how to use those mechanics and change Light of Zaraxis so that you can use these different types of rulings to deepen the whys and the logic and the tactics that you can use during the adventure, so that it feels more like a normal D&D campaign, so that you're making use of the 5e mechanics that you're already familiar with to be able to have characters that are taking command of a fleet of ships, to be able to lead against enemy forces, or to be able to drift from location to location, and to be able to have instead of the DM just saying this is how it is, we now have mechanics as to why these things work. And when there's mechanics that you can use, then the DM has more power to decide, do I like those rules or do I want to modify them? Should I use them as written, or do I want to use those as a hinge for you to create your own ideas and your own solutions? But having mechanics and rules allows you to make your own rulings. And that's what we want to provide to you. A book of rulings so that you can add as much mechanical depth to your Spelljammer campaign as you please. So if you think these ideas are cool, we stream almost every day. You can like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications. I've got a Discord channel that's linked down below. You can hang out. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask in the comments, or find me on Twitter in the description down below, or join my Discord and be welcome to ask questions. We're going to have not only the PDF supplement on DMsGuild.com, there's a number of links down below to see other stuff that we've done, but there'll also be a zip file full of creature, NPC, and ship tokens that you can use in Light of Zaraxis and other campaigns that you create in your own homebrew, as well as maps and all the tools that you need to be able to run a Spelljammer campaign. We have a wild system generator, so you can create your own systems, and we have guidance as to how to position planets and moons and how they orbit and the time it takes and how you can scale that on a map, so you can have a point crawl campaign and know how fast planets are moving around different celestial objects. So there's a lot of depth and mechanics in here that you can use to answer all those little questions about, like, how do you make these things work using 5e mechanics. So thanks a lot for checking this stuff out, guys. I'd love to see you around, so be welcome to swing by when we're streaming, and when it goes live. Definitely check out the book. We'll have descriptions for you down below with a link for you to find the book on DMsGuild.com once it publishes. So thanks a lot, people. I'll see you on the other side.